You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Boy, you're sick in the head. Hey, Jeepers, it's On the Trail with Kevin and Scott once again. It's show 174. I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy who Scott is over here finally getting Scott to lose it even before the show has begun. Yay! Yay me! See, old guys rule. Old Jeep guys really rule. You should see his facial expression right now. Anyhow, you guys know the shtick. I'm kind of the guy, the engineer, the one that reads the instructions, uses the right tools, and follows those instructions most of the time, which we did today.
Yeah, okay.
And across from me at the other microphone, turning bright red from restrained, snide comments.
No, not restrained here anymore. I'm going to let it go. I'm gonna let the dogs out. I'm gonna zing. Welcome to show 174. I am Scott, the slapstick parts guy. That Kevin can no longer ever pick on me for saying that I forgot the intro and outro to the shows because he forgot our name just now. So with that, remember, we'll always share what worked for us as well as what did soon to follow on that one. But remember, it's always up to you to decide what you want to do with your Jeep. So as he said earlier, read the instructions, chase them, do stuff, make sure you wear safety and eye protection and all that kind of stuff, which I did. I actually had to pause.
My
inner Kevin said, put glasses on, you idiot. So I
didn't say that. It was the debris that smacked him in the cheek or the head.
You didn't say that, but my inner monologue of Kevin saying, put glasses on, you idiot, as the steel whips into my leg. And I'm going, I'm leaving on a cruise here in a couple days, and I don't want to go with an eye patch because next thing you know, I'm going on a cruise.
Well, he hopes he is.
Well,
because as we record this slightly, hey, look, I'm the guy that had to run all over the place to get ahead of Ian. We are recording this as Hurricane Nicole is churning her way through the Atlantic, threatening the Bahamas. And where are you going, Scott?
The Bahamas. Yes,
and then coming to the east coast of Florida. Where do you live, Scott?
The east coast of Florida.
And then it's going to munch its way across to the west coast, where I live.
And then back over to the east coast of Florida, where I live.
Welcome to Florida, folks.
Hey, just because it has a turn signal on doesn't mean it's going to turn.
That's true.
Welcome to Hurricane Cast with Darn My Luck and my co-host, Kevin.
Yes, we're having fun here. We're having fun. But hey, so we are recording this one just a few days early, but really not that far ahead. And we had a very interesting day today. We attacked a project that was, in Scott's turn, for me, it was grossly overdue. For Scott, it was perhaps a little underripe.
Yeah, it was underripe, and it's one of those Murphy's Law going, whoa, you didn't wait a year? No, things are going to happen. No, but we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a few minutes.
But we hope you guys enjoyed the last show with 80 years of tech. Had a few listeners reach out and go, what? You got a what? And I said, no, I didn't get a what. She got the what.
She got a what?
Yeah, she got the GPW.
Yes.
But I have enough projects.
And it's great fun with both of those two, Scott and Autumn. I was getting there.
Sorry.
And dealing with the a generator versus an alternator versus carburetors without any. I mean, we're talking the basic of basic carbs here, folks. With no
this thing
press
so
it down and auto choke it. No fuel enrichment for startup. No, it's like, no, you have a little lever over here for choke, and then you have a little idle set button that you pull out, and you have to kind of adjust those two to where then you push on the floor starter button way over on the center of the Jeep floor, and it goes rump, rump, rump,
on a brand new battery fully charged. Yay, 6 volt. Well, the interesting thing about that is that this thing is so basic, I'm surprised you don't have to rub two sticks together to get the ignition spark to go.
How did you think I got it going?
Yeah, exactly.
I was sitting there, folks, when to get this thing started and pulling fuel, they're looking at me because I'm choking the carburetor with my hand. In other words, cupping it over the top, blocking it, feeling it. Yeah. And then finally, when I did that the second time, it sparked to life.
Yay.
And I still have the palm of my hand.
Exactly. You get sucked in.
Well, I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to the poof.
Exactly. But no, that was a fun little show we did, and it's interesting because I'm trying to get through the workload of projects I have, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you guys have been on the internet at all,
God. Here we are on the interwebs,
and this time I didn't have to go off like a model rocket.
Facegram,
Facebooks and Instagram. Or no, wait,
Instabooks and Facegram.
Thank you, you had it right, man. I'm way off my game today. You can tell I'm tired, but
I worked him hard. He's been over here helping me on some non-Jeep projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the she shed. No, sorry, the Kevin shed done. So
either the watershed.
Hey, we're gonna need it here in a little bit. I'm glad we got that door installed. But no, we have had a lot of fun these past few days. But Kevin's like, hey, why don't you bring over your seats? We'll finally get them installed. I'm like, I don't know, man. It hasn't been a year yet. We're gonna jinx ourselves.
Yeah, he didn't say that. He's like, I'm bringing my seat.
Yeah, pretty much. Other way around. Shh, dramatic effect for the show. So Kevin's like, you want to have it? Yes. What? I didn't get a chance to finish. Yes, I'd like to get my seats installed. Because they have been literally in the back of the Jeep since July.
Yep.
I'm not joking.
That's when he was going to bring them over here, and we were going to put them in, but the install kit still hadn't arrived.
And of course, the day Kevin and I were going to mock something up and do something, I get an email. Hey, Scott, your brackets are here. We're going to get them. I'm like, oh, cool. We'll get to that again. But yeah. So I think we teased that enough. But no,
the seats are in.
The seats are in.
And they work.
Yes.
They actually do.
And I can actually see over the hood now. I don't look like Ethel Merman driving away to church in a 65 Ford Galaxy. Little blue hair going, I'm sorry, it's my bald head over the steering, barely over the steering wheel. Yeah. Moving on. But no, if you guys have been on the interwebs, you've seen something very interesting because Kevin and I, in 2019, everyone was flocking around the Gladiators, all of them, because it was a new thing at SEMA.
It was a new thing.
And, of course, they had a 2-door blue Gladiator in the Jeep booth. And, man, everyone was like, you need to make that. You need to make that. And we had a conversation. We've talked about a couple of different shows about how, hey, you need to, are you going to make something like this? And the lady basically told us, I'm paraphrasing here, is, right now, two-door Wrangler sales are only 10% or around there.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact math, and I apologize. That was 4 years ago.
Pretty low.
Pretty low. She's like, everybody wants 4-door. And so it doesn't
3 years,
make.
by the way, it'll go, guys. 19 from 22 is 3.
Yeah, something like that, math. But the point is that there is really no market for the 2-door Wrangler.
A lot of people talk about it and act like they want it, but as they say, would it sell? And right now, looking at the Wranglers, the 4-door versus the 2-door, the 4-door is something like 8-to-1 or 9-to-1.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's they almost don't think it's worth making at that time. As you were saying, we're not even sure we're going to keep making the 2-door Wrangler,
right?
But that's tooled, so there's no big deal.
Money spent for that.
Yeah, so shutting it down would actually cost. So,
right.
But we learned some interesting facts. Apparently, if you've seen the interwebs, there have been a couple of people that have gone out there and have created their own versions.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the different ones that I looked up the other day.
I only know of the blue one.
The big one was Ian from Big Tire Garage.
Okay.
Ian made a 2-door version that he is letting his son take to college. And it was a big deal, and he had some videos on of that, and of course it's been extremely well received. That phone's life just flashed in front of my eyes.
I already cracked the screen protector, and I got one on order.
And so, but here's the thing: what just recently came up. Scott talked to me, and we went and looked at it. There's a new post of somebody who has done a slightly different take on the 2-door Gladiator.
Yeah, Greg Henderson from Off-Road Use Only, or oh my goodness, see. You put me on the spot. I literally just had the phone in my hand and it messes with the phone board, so now I have to hold stuff out here like I'm trying to read a menu. Oh, by the way, did you see Matt's off-road? The Moravere broke the front end?
Yep, broke the front end.
Oops. But no, unofficial use only, Greg Henderson. If you don't know him yet, look him up because he created a 2-door Wrangler.
Yep. 2-door Gladiator. But he did something cool. Rather than taking a 4-door Glad and shrinking it, or a regular... even a
4-door,
a Hemi,
rigged
or any of them a lot of them have been powered differently. He did something a little different.
Yeah, he basically took a 4-door 4XE, And if you guys are not familiar with what that is, that's basically the hybrid plug-in hybrid that can go 25 miles on a charge. It's got the turbocharged 4-cylinder. And it's very interesting because he took one of those and made a 2-door Gladiator out of it. Right. And it was in partnership with Quadratecs for their 50-state, 50-trail cleanup that they had, for being green. But what was most captivating is that Jeep actually had a question, and if I can find the actual post they posted on there, it was very interesting because they literally kind of admitted that, they might be onto something, like quite literally Jeep said, should we build this?
Yeah. And so this is something we're going to throw to you guys, and you should chime in on that this is not our show. This is Jeep themselves. Scott's trying to look up the reference to it real quick, but they asked, the response to some of these different individual builds has been strong enough that it has got the marketing group going, maybe there is a market. And if you're interested, they're saying that, hey, we need to know if you're interested. Not that you got to go sign a contract or anything like that, but go ahead. He's still digging.
No, I actually found it. Basically the post they put on there says, are we missing something? Should we add a 2-door Gladiator to our lineup? And that was on Jeep's official page.
Right. So I would go to Jeep's official page if you think you're in the market for a 2-door Gladiator. And we'll get to the follow-on with this in a minute. But let your thoughts be known. This is an opportunity, folks, that Jeep is looking for consumer feedback. And remember, as Scott has said many times,
Double Secret Infinity Mini,
they're in this for profit. They are not here for a legacy. I hate to say that. While they're happy to use the legacy, they're a business. And you've got to accept that fact that they're in this for a business. So they want to make what they can sell. And if you're seriously interested, hey, go to the Jeep page and say, hey, I saw this, or comment on that post. Look for it. It's got the green, electric hybrid Gladiator that was at the SEMA show on the picture. And let them know that you're interested, that, hey, I'd consider buying this, or I would buy this, or whatever words you wish to use, because that's the only way it's going to happen. Because the tooling effort to bring something like that to life is very expensive. So there's a certain minimum sales level they'd have to meet to even be willing to consider the tooling. Yeah. And you're like, well, they make Gladiators already. They don't make a 2-door.
Right. And it's not just the same of cutting the saws off.
You don't cut off. It's redesigning. Basically, even if they use the same bed and the same chassis, well, I don't think they could. They'd have to shorten, so they'd have to design a frame. They'd have to design a 2-door cab. They probably would save money, I'm guessing out loud. They probably use the doors off the 2-door and the back body panels and that stuff. But the entire, what do I want to call it, close in the back of a cab. Yeah. Would have to be fabricated. So it's either they'd use the Gladiator's current back of cab, but then they'd have to have 2-door side panels for the doors and that kind of stuff, and roof structure. So there's a whole additional line there that has to be designed. As Scott pointed out, after you design it, you have to go out and test it, and then you have to crash test it, and you have to receive your certifications, And so even if they started tomorrow, unless they started last year and aren't telling us, it's going to take a little while. But to start the ball rolling, somebody's got to go, hey, I want one.
Well, and this is one of the things I was talking about, and it's funny where everyone goes, oh my God, I want that. It's like, okay, well, that's great. But, again, I'm going to take devil's advocate side here a little bit.
Not you.
Yeah, I know, right? Jeep has also heard people say, well, that's not a real truck. It's not a Jeep. It's an abomination. It's blah, 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 blah. And they're thinking about market share. Like, if you're very savvy, like Kevin, Kevin with his truck, in the world of everything's a crew cab, Kevin wanted an extended cab for his truck, an F-250. He had to special order that thing. I can tell you right now, being in the dealership world, not a lot of people are buying single cab trucks. Some fleets are probably using it, but again, are they only going to offer it in an extended cab?
Right.
Because you got to have a wheelbase to tow. Now, again, everyone wants to buy a pickup truck, and the whole, it's not a real truck. It can't tow 14,000 pounds. Well, of course not. It's a mid-sized truck. So your shorter wheelbase single cab may only tow 4,000 pounds.
A lot of our younger listeners don't remember when mid-sized trucks were a thing.
Yeah.
Folks, there was a mini trucks, there were mid-size, and then there were full-size. And I go all the way back to when there only was full-sizes. Yeah.
A truck was a truck.
Yeah, that was it. And the half-ton was the smallest you could buy, and it had an 8-foot bed and usually a V8. Now, you can go back older than me and get into the straight sixes with the smaller beds, but, I'm talking about when we moved in post-World War II when I was a boomer and, the kid growing up, and we had the Chevy C10s and the...
it was a utilitarian vehicle.
It was very utilitarian. You had the special order air conditioning,
You drove the truck to the work site and the wagon to home.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, groceries and stuff.
Yeah. I spent many a mile in the back seat of a station wagon or cargo bay.
I was going to say, the back seat, man, must have been the highfalutin
No,
kid.
I was the youngest, so when the older ones left, I finally graduated up to the middle.
So you did spend a few summers in the backpack area.
I spent many a trip looking at the front of a travel trailer.
Exactly. Well, and that's
kind of a boring view after a while.
Exactly. Well, this is an Airstream with the sunglasses, but
no.
The interesting thing is, though, is that, again, here's where the niche market comes into, because most people buy the Jeeps for off-roading. Like, I didn't buy my Gladiator to tow other than the LJ. I bought it to off-road and have fun and, have a utilitarian vehicle. So that two-door Gladiator may not be purchased to tow 4,000 pounds. It's an off-road vehicle that you can throw a bunch of tools in the bed. So that it's going to be a very niche market. Another thing that I'm worrying about is, what's the price point?
Yep.
Because again,
it's not going to cost that much less than the 4-door. You're talking, 200 pounds of steel.
I thought you'd save like $12,000 to $15,000 buying a 2-door Wrangler compared to a 4-door back when I was building them.
Yeah.
Wrong. You only save like $4,000.
That's it. I mean, it really is.
This was 2020 when I was looking at them, so I haven't looked at it the past 6 months.
But the key there is that losing 2 doors doesn't save you a lot. That's why they made them all 4 doors, because adding 4 doors didn't cost a lot, and it added a heck of a lot more sales. People want it, and I get it. We want to take our kids with them. You don't usually start looking at 2 doors until you're either before kids or after your kids are making kids. And at that point, you go, okay, why am I hauling all this extra space?
Yeah.
And just for your information, folks, the reason I went with the cab and a half was it really wasn't the doors and the space per se. It's the back of a Ford cab and a half, or what they call an extended cab. When you open the swing doors, the back area is flat. There's no transmission hump in the back, and you tip the seats up, and I have a dry, secure, flat storage area that I can haul tool bags and parts to all kinds of funny places to do.
Well, you practically got an SUV back there.
Yeah.
You literally got the best of both worlds. You have an SUV and a truck bed. Like, the Gladiator seats fold up, but again, I still got the transmission hump, small one.
Yeah.
But, again, can I put some stuff in there? Yeah, I can, but nowhere near what you can.
Yeah, I load up quite a bit of stuff in there, but there was a purpose in that design. And then, of course, when you can put their biggest, gnarliest V8 diesel in their lightest aluminum body, rig, it can be a lot of fun.
It's so funny because I remember he was talking to somebody, and again, this is very true about the Gladiator. Are people going to want a 2-door diesel Gladiator? Well, like in your case, you have the reactor. And I thought Kevin was joking until I looked. It's literally exhaust manifold, reactor, and then an AutoZone turn down pipe out the back, because the entire reactor is the exhaust.
Yeah,
practically.
Yeah, and it's not an AutoZone. It's just that's what came from Ford. Is that dual Stinger air and train to cool down that fireball that's coming out the back end.
But no joke though, like your exhaust pipe is literally counted in millimeters, not inches. I mean, it's gnarly. But again, so there are a lot of things like too. Now, again, the reason why they also might be thinking about it and the CAFE standards. If you have a vehicle that maybe weighs a little bit less and you put that 4-cylinder turbo engine, well, now all of a sudden you got a vehicle that gets, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yep. Better mileage. So from things I've been reading, either way you say it, you spell it the same, but it's pronounced differently, is... unless you're from Pennsylvania, then it's a town.
Yeah, that too. But they also looked at the fact of that, again, the price point and everything else and the cave standards, but at the same time, too, they were going to kill the 4xe style Gladiator. Now, is it because maybe they're thinking a two-door Gladiator? You know, again, another thing, too, to think about is that as romantic as the two-door Gladiator is, go shove yourself into a mid-90s mini truck. You know, I can tell you right now, even a Dodge Dakota, single cab, you had no room.
I drove one for years.
Yeah, I mean, I drove my Isuzu Pup for almost 4 years. You know, people want cargo. They want the space. They want the ability to do a lot of stuff. You know, okay, you're going to put a bench seat in there, or you're going to put bucket seats in there. You know, so there's a lot of questions that, you know, can't be answered by a podcast. But again, if there's something you really are interested in, this is the time to say Jeep. You know, like literally the meme, go take my money.
Yeah,
this is the time. But understand, again, this may take time, but you know, we never know. I mean, they could come out with one tomorrow with a Hellcat motor in it, for all we know.
Well, the parent, or you know, what's the current ads from the Dodge and Chrysler team, which is last chance, get your V8 now before they're all gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've seen that literally on advertisements.
Well, they also said too that I read a little blurb that they're actually Stellantis is thinking about bringing back the reason why they're getting rid of the V8s is they're bringing back the inline 6 twin turbo.
That's fine.
Or they're in development with it. You know, that's been a blurb for a while now, but I'm like, an inline 6 twin turbo? Can you imagine your Gladiator having, or your Jeep now having an inline 6 again? I don't know if it'll have the twin turbo. But
I still have an inline 6.
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about imagining.
The new ones. Don't get me started on the iPhone Corolla comments. We promised we wouldn't touch that.
You just threw it out.
Yeah, but everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
Scott's weird.
Yes. So, but anyway, I guess that's the thing for you guys is we're kind of curious if you want to take some time and jot us a quick Facebook message or, you know, send us an email and let us know your thoughts on it. But, you know, if you're really interested, I think Jeep, Chrysler, Fiat has kind of...
Stellantis. I'm sorry.
Has thrown out an opportunity
I'm going to get kicked.
For you
to voice your opinion.
To voice your opinion and let them know what you think.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my book, after seeing that one at 2019, which was a, you know, factory prototype two-door, it was sexy as hell. It blew the four-door away. It had a very lean, a little more business-like look to it. It reminded me a lot of the earlier Comanches and that kind of thing. It had that kind of...
It had that 70s vibe. That
it really
70s
did.
Off-road, KC highlighter, you know.
And
lights.
I'm going to, you know, get out of my way. I'm going, you know. And that was back when the Jeep had that. You know, your Jeep would go places that my Chevy I had at the time, you know, my 74 Chevy C10 would never fit. Yeah. You know, that's where the midsize came in was... You know, there were farm gates that you couldn't fit the full-size trucks through. Yeah. But the Jeeps and a lot of the mid-size trucks, the Dakotas, and they'd buzz right through there, you know, the Rangers and that kind of stuff. And admittedly, they were a little underpowered. That's why the fun thing in the world was to rip that little four-cylinder out and shove in a
small block
Chevy in the Chevys and a 302 in the...
the Ford Couriers.
Yeah. Oh.
I know. I'm showing my age here.
Yeah, you are. I know. You were a tuner truck boy or whatever you called it.
Oh, my God. Ouch. Oh, I deserve that. Mini trucker. I was a mini trucker. Man. That's...
And you never tried to tune it?
It's a mini truck. Ain't nothing fast about that. You know, I had an Anza tip on it that sounded really cool because you saws all the muffler off and you had a little Anza tip in the back. Sounded great. Didn't move at all. Made a whole lot of noise, but didn't go anywhere. Pretty much, yeah. Downshift. Wag, wag. I'm doing 35, you know. It's a truck.
We won't go there, folks.
And everyone look at me, you're stupid for lowering the truck. Well, yeah, whatever. I'm just a kid.
Yeah, well.
I got to go home now. My mom's beeping me. I think mom's code was 2112 911. That means get your butt home. The street lights are on. Where are you? You know, I was like, oh, got to go, guys. Got to run home listening to Electronic by Dr. Dre in my mini truck. Yeah, it's cool, man, you know. Literally, a lot of people there. There's going to be two sides of this listenership right now going, yeah, I was there. And the other side going, what? You didn't have Spotify? No. I had a CD. And then you're with a mini truck and a CD skipping does not mix.
Hey, I go back to having a cassette player in the truck, and it was a factory. You slide it in sideways and I never had an 8-track, though. That was just one of those things that was a little too weird.
I joke about that, and you always give me that raised eyebrow like Spock. I'm like, ooh, I'm pushing the button here. I'm going to stop. Pop over here is going to throw a record at me.
I would.
I know.
But they break.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any anymore. Somebody offered me way too much money for them.
And that's, kid, how he bought his first Jeep. No. But no, again, this is the time.
Close, but not quite.
But this is a time to look at that, like we talked about, and share that. But again, if it's something you're into, great. I love, and it's funny because I actually had to eat crow because I put on a post. Someone posted the picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they're not going to make it. And I explained the quick little story blurb because the guy said, they need to make this. And then someone posted below that the picture of Jeep going, did we make a mistake? And I immediately typed back in there, well, I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well,
I could be wrong.
But it ain't often that you're going to hear a marketing department go, oh, did we make a mistake?
Mm-hmm. Or again, are they already in production? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. But, well, I'm sure somebody does, but nobody is going to talk to us.
This just popped in my noggin.
Uh-oh.
The good thing, I think.
That explains why your headphones went boink.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Bong. No, I would bet next Easter Jeep Safari, are we going to see, because you know how Mopar brings out those ones? A couple of years ago, they had the Wagoneer and everyone liked it. And next thing you know, we have a $100,000 Wagoneer out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Jeep builds one, then you might know they might be onto something.
They might. So who knows? Well, let's roll on to today's tech section, literally in my garage.
Yeah, I'm going to take a seat and listen. Badoom. I have the button now. Hold on.
I was going to say.
Maybe. Now, that was apropos. Nope. There you go. I got it right.
How long have you had this mixer board?
$7 million in technology, and I still can't figure it.
Well, you never put any labels on the buttons.
Yep.
They're all blue-white.
Yep.
Looks like a telephone keypad that's about 1 million years old that all of the buttons have been worn smooth.
Yep.
And a lot of people are going, telephone keypads? Hey, look, at least it's not a rotary dial. So, anywho, as mentioned earlier, Scott shows up in his LJ with extra seats, and they ain't the back seat, but they're in the backpack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's interesting, too. I do have to make another quick follow-up to my bump stop questions and stuff like that. I will say this. Driving here, the 100 miles one way, was a lot more comfortable not riding on the bump stops.
Yes. He actually took a bump stop extension kit that the previous owner or one of the previous owners of the LJ had added in there, because when we put the lift kit in with the lift kit's lower bump stops, and I'm looking at that going, you've got an extended bump stop. So
send it.
Well, it was one of those, he goes, it's late, I need to get home, I have to drive across the state, I'll take it as is.
Yeah.
With a 1/4 inch of up travel.
If that.
Boom, 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 boom.
Speaking of lowrider days.
Yeah.
So it was much more comfortable, even though the seats were rolling around in the back, but I got here.
Yeah, you did. And then we have a tech tip from the garage, and this one is a honest to God, never would have thought of it myself.
But I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah. And in all fairness to the seat supplying company, they had admitted that they were having supply problems with the kit, hence the 6-7 months waits for the install kit. The seats were there, they're ready to bolt in, but if you're going to use your factory tilt and slide, you have to get their little kit so that the functions are maintained. And the kit showed up, and it actually has extra hardware in it, which this time didn't help. No. But I will tell you that installing the
seat bracket
Baja RS from Mastercraft it's straightforward enough, but due to this Jeep's seat bases, particularly the 03 through 06, and the shape of the suspension seat, my hands are a little bit large to get in and put the 4 nuts on. You take the old seats off, the base brackets, and that itself is a little bit of a convoluted effort. But then you put studs into the seat base, and they're short thread on one side, long on the other. They tell you to put the short side down, which is fine, and all that worked. And you fit it all together, and you go to put the nuts on, and I'm like, I think I'm cross-threading. No, let me try again. Let me tighten a little. No, this is just, and we took it back apart. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me go clean this up. And I go to clean up the threads. And it's like, no, the die doesn't fit. Okay, well, this is an 05, so it actually should be metric. So let me get the correct metric set. Yeah, the threads cleaned up fine, but why did it mangle the threads? So and I went over and said, do you have the nuts that came in the kit? And out of the 8 Nylock nuts, 3 of them were M8 by 1.25, which threaded on just peachy keen.
Yep.
The rest of them,
the remaining 6,
were 5/16 U.S. spec national course, which does not fit on a metric bolt. It'll start, and then it will Loctite itself forever to the stud. Unfortunately, we got, I realized something wasn't right with enough time to clean that bolt up, but we had to go through every single one. So this is the tech tip. Guys, when you have hardware that's supposed to match, check that that everything threads together first. Yeah. Before you do anything with fortunately, you couldn't fit an impact gun in there to save your life, but if it had, we'd have ruined things. Quick trip up to our local Ace Hardware, digging through, finding the correct M8 by 1.125, and everything's fine. It went on. They're even the same color. They look like the same manufacturer. Yeah. But their supply problems obviously were somebody ran out of metrics and just threw in a handful of, I don't know what happened. I don't want to pick on them because I've had great luck with Mastercraft many times in the past, but this one was one that kind of caught me off guard. And patience was not a long suit today. It was kind of hot, and the seats are heavy, and we're working up on sawhorses on a plank so that I'm not sitting there on the floor because I'm kind of getting past that. Yeah. And
that's a young man's game.
You're jamming your hands up in a space that
designed for a Keebler elf.
Well, you can put your hand in flat, but then trying to spin a nut on with your fingers scissoring sideways, they spread really easily, but back and forth is not really built into the human hand. And it's plenty of sharp. Let's see, where is it? The tip of the fingers sliced open. Yeah. Right there, kind of. And, from barbs and those kinds of things. So long story short, we got them together, and they work well. Scott's going to like them. They're comfortable. Oh, yeah. But it was an interesting one to get there and have to stop and disassemble everything to find out how much thread had been damaged, and you couldn't pull it off and check. You had to disassemble everything and take it all the way out. And sorry for the background noise, but
security cat. Yeah, it must be time for them to be fed,
not till mom gets home.
Exactly.
Anyway, so
but your point is good, because had that been our only transportation, had I been doing this by myself in my garage and I took the seats out
and disassembled them, because we broke them down pretty far. Now, we didn't break anything literally, but you have to salvage shift latch cables for the tilt, and you've got to take the side frames off the seats to be able to get them off of the slide rack. So you could theoretically put the seat back together, but you'd be at it for quite a while. So check your hardware. And I used to do that, and then production got pretty consistent. I started to take it easier way.
You take it for granted.
You really do. And you look and you eyeball it and you go, oh yeah, that's the right size. But when you're talking about, something that goes under a 1/2-inch socket wrench, which is a 13 millimeter, they look identical and they start to thread
until they don't,
until they go, this is not going well.
Yeah, and I resisted to say the joke cross-threading is a new Loctite, because honestly, that is
I'd have thrown the seat at him.
Well, it's very stupid, because I know we all joke. It's fun to laugh about those little things, but even with our little project out there that we did, the pump shed, it's nice when you don't cross-thread something, because if you need to take it apart like we did a couple times, it's nice to be able to get it apart. So everyone makes those jokes, but at the same time, guys, you have to think about serviceability later on.
Yeah.
Am I going to break
particularly
down
when you're working with an old Jeep and you're putting your sweat equity and money into it to make repairs, you really don't want to booger it up and make work for yourself later.
Too many times I've seen friends in a hurry using the electric impacts and just knocking that water pump in. Just it's fine. Next thing you know, they're taking it out. It's defective.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're using the tap and die set to try and repair the threads because they were in a hurry.
Yep. So,
especially on a seat that's you're sitting on that's a seat belt and could save your life in the midst of something bad happening.
Oh yeah, and Jeeps never roll over and play dead, do they?
Yeah, never at all.
Okay, but so take that one from us. That was the one that didn't go so well. Is fortunately we discovered it in the first one we tightened down, and finding 3 of them that were metric, and they fit on no problem. Spooled right down to the nylock, and they went down without a sweat. That doesn't mean we didn't have to disassemble it a few times to figure out how the frickin' shift levers went together or the cable levers.
Cable levers, yeah.
But it's one of those little things, and we're fortunate that we have a very well stocked Ace Hardware. Hats off to them, not a sponsor, but we're out here. I'm now out in the country quite a bit, and so to have a place like that, they tend to carry a little more hardware than the average one in suburbia.
Well, you're in an agriculture area. People repair things.
Yeah, and so they have one whole wall of metric and one whole wall of US and about 6-7 spots where you can check the threads. So long story short, went up there and what was it about? It was $2.87. $2.87, and we came back and finished off reassembling the seats assemblies and got the other side, and even he did something I didn't, which is he wire brushed down the rusty subframes and gave them a quick spritz of paint so that you don't open the door and see a rust.
Yeah,
which now he's going to embarrass me in much taking mine off and doing that. So,
in all things considered, and everyone says, Scott, you took time to put the lift on and do all these things. Of all of the things I've, because right now.
Finish one sentence before you start another.
Yeah, sorry.
Please, these people are listening to a podcast.
You're right. No, it's fine. I'm glad this was the last thing I did because it's the one mod I wanted to do so bad since I own that thing.
Yeah.
And I now consider the LJ almost complete. It's now time to enjoy it because the missing piece was the seats. All the parts are off the shelf. They're all installed now. I got a safe.
Folks, his seats actually broke about 2 years ago. Maybe it was 3.
3, yeah.
And we did some
few
backyard.
Episodes again, yeah.
It's in a couple episodes where we added a small pad in the middle of it out of some thin plywood and some wire to take care of some broken ties and stuff like that, knowing that he was ordering. So it was a temporary patch unless it's not.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
And then it gave up the ghost about 6 months ago.
Yeah. Well, it was the missing piece to that Jeep. It's funny when you talk about when you take time to make the Jeep your own and all that, and there's that last piece that you put in and then you step back and go, this was my vision. This is what I wanted to do. Like right now, with the exception of the color red, this is my vision for this Jeep. I am very happy with it right now. It's pretty. And I know a lot of Jeepers don't use that word, but this is what I wanted. I now have the stereo in it I wanted. I have and it took time. And this, again, I bought this Jeep in 2017.
Yep.
So 17 to now, it took time. Kevin and I talk about bench building and coming different ideas and doing things. Life intersected. But, it takes time, and
well, people laugh about slightly altered, but you got to remember that I bought slightly altered 2012, folks, and drove it for quite a few years stock. Well, actually, I didn't. My daughter kind of went, mine, Dad, I'm going to drive it to high school. She's now 25. So that gives you an idea.
It's so funny when we talk about customer and Jeep math. When you said something about something you installed on it, I'm like, oh yeah, didn't you do that like a year ago or 2 years
he keeps
ago?
talking about
the trailer. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, we had that a couple of years. Like, Scott, I bought it. Like,
yes.
Oops.
Yeah, it's like my trailer that I call the Jeep on that I had custom built for my little Jeep. Some of the deck boards are rotted out. He's going, how can they be rotted out? You just got that trailer. I'm like, no. I bought that in 13.
Yeah, customer math over here.
Yeah, so it's due for a little bit of service. It's been a fantastic trailer. It's driven me to Tennessee. It's driven the Jeep to Florida. I mean, to Georgia multiple times. It's had hauled it's drug around a 15,000 pound, well, 10,000 pound tractor and implements all over the place here.
I might need to bring in the GPW over here one day.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. I can't let you borrow it. You got a soft. U-Haul.
Almost had to beat myself. Wait a minute, the family show.
Anywho.
That's the interesting thing is you think about these things like customer math, and I joke about that, like the battery you have in there. It's like, we're looking at the battery and like, well, I got my life out of it. I'm like, what? You just bought that battery again, customer math, and the battery is what? 3 years old?
Oh no, it's 5, 6.
Yeah, 5, 6 years old. I mean,
7.
You got your usage out of it,
Oh, it's going to come back. I mean, it's always come back. It's a.
Yeah, that's right. You got the gooder charger on it now.
Folks, one of the things is that because of life interceding, and as I've mentioned before, I've moved into the new house, and we've been here for about 5 months now. And there's projects after projects after projects. And unfortunately, as much as I love my TJ, I can't put a 16-foot of lumber in that thing anyhow. I figured. I've tried, let me tell you.
You can staple it to the ceiling.
Well, strapping it across the roll bar and letting it hang over the nose and tie it to the front stinger bar, it makes all the local police officers kind of look sideways as you go by. And then the other problem is when you hook the put a sheet of plywood across the roof like that and strap it down, you go over 45 in the front, what tires lift off the ground.
It's so funny to talk about that, because I remember when I put my canoe on top of the YJ, because that's how I transferred the canoe when we went out canoeing. And I remember the one post I put, my hardtop's a failure, because it was upside down over the Jeep.
Yeah. So so anyway, the key here was it's been in the garage. It got used once or twice for various events and stuff. But lately, we were up in New England for a couple of weeks, and I went over there and I said, I bet you it's dead. And it was, door nail. Yeah. I have a phantom current leak again, even though I fixed the last one. I've got to find out what it is. But to do that means I have to have time. And yes, I know I hang my head in shame. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's it. Life.
I've been consulting with several other shops. We've got some other projects that we'll talk about. Some that are even non-Jeep projects. Ooh, but at least the one's off-road, and the other one's related to off-road. Helping a good friend who owns a shop develop a new piece of test equipment to your benefit, the listeners, any of you guys. And we'll talk about that more later. It's to guarantee that what you buy from them will do exactly what it's supposed to do.
That's always a plus.
I'm not even sure Scott knows about this one.
I am literally here going, he hasn't told me yet. I feel hurt.
I have not.
Well, another thing, too, life interceding, is that I would like to have the lift on the... Brace yourself, folks. I would like to have the Gladiator lift installed before the end of the year. So... I don't know how that's going to happen, but
I don't either, since we're running out of year a lot faster, considering you're getting ready to, well, if there's a Bahamas, you're going to, you'll be headed that way.
Hurtful.
I'm thinking of the poor people living on the Bahama Islands. But it's funny we talk, because one of the things we say in our show is balancing work, family, and vaping in life, And so it's funny you talk about the battery situation. I didn't tell people this after you came over. We got it running. Yeah,
I told you this, but I have the battery buddy with.
He's talking about his GPW.
Well, yeah, Autumn's GPW.
Yes,
but the GPW, and we have it plugged into the battery buddy.
Yeah,
the little trickle charger, and it was still showing yellow for like 2 days afterwards. I'm like, man, how did we kill this battery down this much? And I shut the garage lights off and go to walk inside the house, and all the blackout lights were on.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I'm going to...
Leaving lights on will do that.
You're like, hey, Autumn, you need... I might need to bleep that. Take 2. Hey, Autumn, you need a headlamp switch. Wow, I did not say the word switch. Well, I got halfway through it and realized I just better err on the side of caution.
I want to see how you edit that together.
Yeah, with me mumble mouthing it my way through it. But no, it's funny though, because the minute I got that switch shut off, Oh, yeah, she's charged right up within 6 hours. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things with Phantom power drains is you have to sit down and start chasing them.
Yeah.
And what I used to do when I have a longer travel time, when I worked for a living, actually for a paycheck, let's put it that way, I would just disconnect the negative terminal for the battery, and then it wouldn't die as fast. And there's some piece of digital electronics, and you and I both heard it when we first started charging. It's in the body control module of the TJ in the dash, and you put it on your ear.
Yeah.
And Scott's like, "What's squeaking?" I said, "It's a Jeep. It's squealing." He goes, "Jeeps squeal?" So yeah, that's what it's going. Feed me. And apparently, for whatever reason, as they get older, the TJ dashes, and I've got to do some digging on it, will bleed current.
Right.
And it's not a huge amount, but when the Jeep sits for 4 weeks, it's enough to take the battery down.
Well, that's again. Hopefully, we get slightly altered back on the road.
No, we will.
We got other stuff.
It's on the nuclear charger, and I haven't seen fireballs come through the wall yet.
And I haven't smelled cheeseburgers yet. All day long, I've been smelling weird stuff. It's kind of odd. But one of the things we're going to do some research on, because again, we get emails all the time. So this isn't something we can cover today in this show. But again, when you guys send us emails, sometimes it may take us a little bit to get the show topic, because we want to look and do our research, because information may have changed since then.
Yep.
But a listener asked about Death Wobble.
Yep.
So again, while there's the typical things to look at, even Kevin telling me I found out a new way to test some things. So we're going to kick that subject around in the old noggin, and then hopefully here soon have a tech segment about it. So if
we'll do a retake on it. I mean, it's still a situation that a lot of people call a shimmy Death Wobble, and a shimmy is not Death Wobble. But a shimmy can become Death Wobble. And the weird thing is Death Wobble is when your wheels slam from hard right to hard left repeatedly. Bam, 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 bam. Your steering wheel spins radically around. The Jeep really doesn't veer off much because it's slamming between a hard right, hard left, and you can come to a stop, and usually will not stop hammering until it comes to a complete stop. And needless to say,
speed through it.
It does a lot of damage to parts. But you drive along and the wheel shaking, isn't really Death Wobble, but it can get there. And Death Wobble is what's called a self-amplifying instability.
Yeah.
The very fact that it's doing it makes it get harder and harder and harder and harder. And there's 1,000 people out there that'll tell you I know how to fix it. Well, the truth is any number of things can cause it. Any number of things can enhance it. Other things can take it away. The only thing I'll tell you categorically is the steering stabilizer won't fix it. It'll quiet it down for a short while till it blows out the steering stabilizer. And on that note, we will cover it on another show.
Absolutely, yeah, because we're already 40 into this, 47.
Yep. So anything else you want to cover?
Not really, other than the fact I'm going to enjoy my LJ right now.
Well, that's good. That's good. And hopefully, you don't get drowned on the way back across state. No, I'm trying to be serious here.
Yeah, no.
That was a pretty harsh rainstorm. We were out back taking a look at the storm front that was coming in that is being pushed here by Ian, and it had a most gorgeous rainbow. But the weird thing was you could see the rain front behind it. Usually it's past and you see the rainbow kind of from the sun being over your shoulder.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case.
No.
You were staring at a leading rainbow that was leading the charge. It was beautiful. It was full arch, doubled in some areas. And I'm going, Scott, you realize it's pouring on you. And he goes, I know. So when we ran back in before we got any further drenched.
Yeah.
So with that, Scott, I think we got to get on to our other task. Folks, we will let you know that Crawling for the Fallen is coming up here very soon.
Actually, this is going to come out after the show.
Oh, okay.
I may release it early. If I get the show edited, because it's in the month of November, so it's not like the first show. So I may release it early.
Then that's true. So Crawling for the Fallen is due up. We have our usual task that we do and support. And this year is a sad one because 2021 there was a record number of police officers, first responders who lost their lives.
Yeah.
Its list exceeded 640 individuals. And so we will be providing the voiceover for the night ride of acknowledging all of the officers name by name. And it's a pretty daunting task that we still have to do and get back to the organizers.
Yeah.
On the other hand, as an off-roading event, it's a fantastic one.
Yes.
It's a great thing to go visit. If you're in the Central Florida region, it's K crawling with a K, crawling for the fallen. They're not sold out yet, are they?
I think you can still register at the gate.
Register at the gate. So it's very much a worthwhile charity event, as well as just a pretty dang cool off-roading event. So hopefully by the time you hear this, it's already over and all went successful. Hopefully Nicole makes her exit quickly and doesn't mess up the event.
Yeah.
But even if you're not going and you want to help, Crawling for the Fallen is part of Off-Road United and COPS, which is Concerns of Police Survivors.
Yep.
And they are fantastic organizations to support the families and survivors of fallen officers. So
and they take donations year round.
And so you don't necessarily have to come here to help, but it's a good thing to do to help, because you know what? They're really kind of police officers are what stand between us and the wolves at the door, no matter what you think. And so
politics aside,
they're really good people.
Yes.
So anything else you want to add?
No, just we hope to see everybody. Again, if you got any comments, questions, concern, on the trail podcast at gmail.com or the Facebook Messenger.
Yep, we get a lot of that now. And thanks again to all of our Patreons, listeners, and our Facebook friends that are now, sending us a lot of information and questions. We enjoy getting them and enjoy answering them.
And if you know Greg Henderson, have him reach out to us. We'd like to have him on the show, maybe.
Yeah, great. All right. As usual, I think we've talked enough. And you have a safe trip.
I'm going to.
Down, and a relaxing one. Get on that ship and enjoy cruising and being fed. And
oh, gosh, I can't wait.
So, folks, I would tell you time to lock hubs and put it in 4 low, but I think it's time to walk the gangplank up and check into your cabin, Scott.
Yeah, pretty much. So with that, you guys have a good one, and thanks again for everything. We appreciate it.
All right. Remember, as we always want you to, regardless of what you're doing, make sure you take nothing but pictures, memories, and, of course, take your trash with you. We want to leave things clean and accessible to our children and our children's children. We don't want them to be closed off because somebody decided that the McDonald's cup,
didn't need to be in the Jeep an extra 15 minutes.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, you all take care, and we will chat with you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.